Is a Western style. Bag for the bows and then a quiver for the arrows. This is something they'd use out on the plains riding horseback. You know, you're out there, there's plenty of room. They'd have a short bow like this one. This might be a buffalo bow. If you were out in the plains, they didn't want long bows when they're running on horseback. Put different marks on them. I got into my period of connecting with the ancestors. And then they might have a longer bow like this. Would be their war bow. This is a longer bow. They have in the nice design on this one. Arrows I made. They're 3-feather fletches. They're turkey feather. There's a chert tip. You can see it. I've glued it and used sinew to secure it in there. Notched the end. It fits right down into the notch. This is a copper tip. Same thing, notched on the end, slid in, glued and wrapped around with sinew. Now obsidian is probably the best stone to use. It's volcanic. It can really, really be sharpened. If you nap it correctly, an obsidian tip can be sharper than surgical steel. What I have here now, this is an Eastern woodland style. They can't use those big, long, they're going through bushes, trees. They have a shorter quiver and setup. Typically they would use a long bow. This is my longbow. I modeled this one actually off a bow I saw in a book. Not exact, but the little heads on the end, little faces. Hawk was your spirit helper, you'd get a hawk feather on there. You told him. Give you good medicine so you would shoot true. And the game would come to you. Also, it was good to know what the wind was doing. And this quiver here made out of birch bark. See that a little up close, how it's stitched. It's been wet, bent. Here what I have is I've experimented with different types of fletching. Native people usually use 2-feather, 3-feather, and some even a 1-feather, which they would wrap from the top to the bottom. But mostly they use the 2- and 3-feather fletches. This is a 2-feather, it's turkey feathers. And on the end I used a piece of chert. It's green, got a nice color to it. And sinew. Feathers are also attached with glue and sinew to hold them on. Arrow, of course, is notched at the end for the bowstring. This is another two-feather fletch. This is a hawk feather. And on the tip is a blunt. I used a old 3030 spent cartridge. I find them in the woods, out in the bog and back. They make a nice. A blunt is used when you only want to stun. Maybe you're hunting, shooting at squirrels or birds, especially up in trees. You know, you shoot an arrow, you don't quite hit the bird. Arrow sticks in the branch or the trunk of the tree. Now you got to climb up there and get it. This is like a week's work and a lot of searching for different materials. You know, there's another copper point that I made out of a piece of copper. Another two-feather fletch, hawk feathers. Now some of these I actually went out and looked for the arrow wood. Little saplings, reeds growing in the marshes. This is solid. A little straightening involved. You got to try to find the straight pieces. This here is a different kind of two-feather fletch. That's a hawk feather. But it's a two-feather fletch. It's got a copper tip. This is another one I made from an actual sapling. This is a three-feather fletch. It was a turkey feathers. And it got a nice piece of chert on the end of it, white. You didn't waste them. After a battle, if the TV, I know, likes to show all the arrows sticking out of the wagons and people's chests. But mostly if there was no threat, the victors would go and pick up all the arrows. And this one is my favorite. For most of my woods I used oak. It's plentiful around here. The best woods to use are ash, hickory, osage orange, black locust can be used. Down here in the Cape there's not a lot of those prime bowwoods around, and if they are, they're in someone's yard where they're pretty particular if I go in and try to cut their tree down. So I use what I had on. White oak. Another hawk feather. Hawk is my totem. My spirit elbow, one of them. My Indian name is Flying Hawk. All right, let's try some shooting. Oh. My last trick, I shot my camera right in the eye. Oh well. I go through a lot of cameras. I think this next one will be my fourth one this year. Between going under waterfalls and they got waterlogged, dropping them in the lake. Anyway, I'm going to try my little buffalo bow for a couple of shots here. fun little bow to shoot. Kind of got into all this stuff years ago, trying to connect with the ancestors. I think the first thing I did was make bows and arrows from scratch. Found a deer hide out in the woods. Hunter had shot it, taken some of the prime meat and left most of the body just laying there, so I skinned it. And I tanned the hide. Very labor-intensive activity. Got a lot of respect. And then I got into making wigwams. I made a bunch of them, actually. Last one finally rotted and fell down. I spread it all out back into the earth. I might go out, maybe that'll be the next one. I'll go out into the woods and make another wigwam. It's a nice process. I used to sleep out in it at night. Had a little fire in the middle. I went out there a couple of nights. It was like 0 degrees out, wind chill, 20, 30 below. Slept out there on a bench I had inside. And tended the fire. Woke up frequently, teary-eyed and shivering. Had to restoke that fire and get it going again, go lay back down for another few hours, and then I had to get up again, and that's how the night went. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it.